You are listening to Groundbreaking Women in Conversation. Pathmaker, pioneer, leader in the people making. Today I have the great pleasure to welcome back Dr. Michele Ritterman. She is the pioneer in the field of connecting family therapy and Erickson hypnosis, author of the groundbreaking book, Using Hypnosis and Family Therapy. And today, we connect with our sharing from our cultural filters and how our connection may not be made out of coincidence, but much more of resonance and synchronicity.
All right.
Enjoy. Hey, Michele. It's so great to see you back.
Thank you. Great to see you too. And you look absolutely stunning, which
Thank
is
you
kind
so
of
much.
miraculous. I think one of the great things we could talk about today, if you want, is how our usual coping mechanisms are not working. So I'm looking at you and I'm going, wow, she looks great. How does she do that? And I'm wondering how you are doing that, because you too are subject to all the forces that are impinging on us all these days.
Yeah. That's a great question. And I don't think I have every day a good day of good quote unquote hair day. I'm definitely moving through, many ways. But I do actually think, over the course of the time, I have made some conscious choices that seem to be helping. Number one, conscious effort to pick something that I enjoy and I feel happy in it. And I was actually touching a really dark place. I want to say a couple of days ago. I need to give you a little bit context. In Cologne, where I live, I live in what was a former highly Jewish quarter. So it's a neighborhood that was a Jewish quarter. Consciously noticing as I was moving in here that there were not only happy things happening in this building. I could just feel it in the space, then moving in. And I consciously started to do some practices, meditation and things like that, especially in my coaching and group room. And that felt like it started to transform. Just for that background. Now in this really amplified field, given the adversities we're experiencing right now, I subjectively feel that whatever terrible history has happened here in my neighborhood, and we have what's called the stumble stones. It's an artist project from a Cologne artist who has created these sizes of the old streets type of stones that I handmade, into the streets.
Oh, yes.
And they're engraved. Yes. They're facing the buildings, engraved with the names of the people living there and what happened to them, so that we remember it personal and the faces and everything. And that's where I live. So I do, they call it stumble because you also mentally stumble over them. And in these old days, the paths are usually the uneven ones. So sometimes you kind of like stumble over. So it has the double meaning. And I did stumble over tapping into my German filters of, I want to say, like the guilt and the shame and the horror of my history I carry. And I was filled with a lot of sadness, a lot of grief, and also historical things that got all the trauma that's been, I find now, bubbling up. And I consciously chose to stay with it and hold it in me and say that's part of my lineage. That's part of the trauma that I hold on this end. And, representing the German side and feeling, I guess, responsibility and just, there was just a lot of sadness. And so what I want to say is, I'm willing these days to really fully own and fully be with every experience that's moving through my nervous system and saying yes to it and make it part of my humanizing process of waking up and really being with all of that.
I have two thoughts I wanted to say. First, I'm very moved. I actually am of Jewish descent, and so we lost half of our family. Were in ovens, and so I grew up with that history. And my father was an immigrant, a first generation.
Yeah.
So I'm very, very moved by the stumble blocks, by where you live, and by that you care. I want you to know, and I don't want to cry, but I have, of course I do. Of course I do. And it's interesting because it's probably one of the things that connects us is that we both know this history. Yeah. I've had this with other German friends who have also dealt with their feelings, and me dealing with my feelings. And there's a way we see the world. And the second thing I want to say is that I wish that people in the United States now would hear you. The best book about the Holocaust, in my opinion, was a book written by a German man, and it was not about the Jews. It's called Every Man Dies Alone. I think it's one of the best books I've ever written.
Wow, yeah.
The author explains how little by little people tolerated things until it came to their doorstep.
I'm very moved that we have this conversation about my neighborhood and my connection. And I think, I guess the other layer to the grief is I have somehow the teaching I do with this Virginia Satir's work actually has brought me to a lot of places where the Germans have done horrible, horrible harm. And I really felt I wanted to become a good messenger for a different way, like reconciling the other side that I think the German history has too, which is poetry and philosophy and stories and music, and just kind of like be a different messenger to what the big experience of many people are. So I made a conscious decision to teach in Russia, Uruguay, like different, very, very different places where I'm always confronted with my history. And I do feel me personally having a role as a representative of the community that inherits the German roots to apologize to what happened and ensure that something like that will not happen again, so that we remember, but also to transmit the other side so that we hold both truths and not just one truth, because I feel that's where then repair and hopefully moving forward into a better future can take place. And I guess that's what I was holding, like,
say that I've been doing the other side of this same work, and that's why we meet in the same place. We do. Our hearts are in the same place. I have a number of friends that I've made from Germany, and we've talked about things so that I came to understand it wasn't about being German, what happened. It was about being hypnotized by an authoritarian who played on the vulnerabilities, his own and everyone else's. You take these and you offer a solution is to bring down and stomp on someone else to get up. And that's not a good model. If you want to do something great, you look at a little bird here, and the bird goes out on its limb and it stands there, it balances on the branch, puffs its little chest and sings its song. It sings its song. It doesn't have to be the best song ever sung. It doesn't have to be the only bird in the neighborhood.
Yeah.
I'm not, it sings its song. And all we all need is to be able to sing our song. So to me, Germany, a lot of people in Germany learned something.
It's wonderful what you share, but what you say about us, that we learned something, and I do believe that's true on one level. But I do also sense that we are also repeating some past terrible things. So it's both in the field as well. So I mean, I have these conversations where I was recently showing in the neighborhood a friend the stumble stones, and I was pointing them out, and then one lady was saying, "Are we still talking about this?" And she's kind of like leaning out of the window, and I said, I'm really happy we have these artistic signs, and they are important, and I do hope that we will always remember and always continue to talk about this, because this can never be forgotten.
The only thing I'm adding to that, and I think that thank God you're doing that where you are. I just think any people, nationality, or religion is capable of doing what was done. No one is exempt from this. The fact that it did happen where it did happen, okay, and yes, there was and is fantastic aspects of German culture, it's, of course, but the fact that that could dominate and darken and take over everything the way it did systematically. That's why I like the book, Every Man Dies Alone. And I want to tell you the sad thing about that book, it's a masterpiece, is that he ended up he had such a God's eye view of it all. I mean, he was German, obviously, and he just saw everything, and he cared about everyone. He was really amazing. And he killed himself in a mental hospital.
Wow.
After he wrote the book. And I felt like, we also have to be careful as the few empaths that are left on earth, that we, in seeing so much that we do see, that is our gift. To be a therapist, you have to see. I've been trying to tell therapists, you see and you hear. Yeah. And you receive and you transmit. Yeah. If you're allowed to transmit, right? One must be careful. Yeah. Because you can see too much.
I totally agree. I mean,
I've been seeing for a lot of years, I feel that empathy is as endangered as various species are. Yeah. And I call it the endangered emotion. And I say to my clients, most of whom are empathic people, and therefore easily harmed by others who are not empathic or narcissistic, find it very polarized these days. Who is empathic and who is narcissistic? Narcissistic means you are incapable of empathy. If someone stomps on your foot, you can say, ouch, if you're a narcissist. But if they say, you're stomping on my foot, they say, so what? If you stomp on their foot and say, that's what you're doing, they go, stop it, that hurts. They do not make the transfer. They're incapable of it. They are incapable of it. I've told this to my clients. I said, you have to decide if you want to exercise your empathic rights and abilities, you have to protect yourself. And how are you going to do it? How can you both self-protect and be fully empathic at the same time? It's very complicated. And I hear you saying something close to that about the walk. You're trying to walk even as you're shouldering a lot of awarenesses and discomforts and seeing reality. That's the other thing is, and we need species awareness. I mean, we really do. I mean, maybe in my lifetime, there'll still be people and a planet without much species awareness.
The other side, though, is looking at the bigger picture of today. Yeah. I was going for a run today, and I was just in awe seeing nature presenting itself in the most beautiful, scope. I mean, all the birds and having little babies now and parading, and, the trees were just beautiful and green, and I just felt there were more animals. At least in the area where I like to go for runs, it was much more quiet. I'm in the city, I'm located in the city, but I'm hearing so many more birds. And I have a little squirrel that comes visiting me sometimes. And I swear to God, I think he comes to visit more these days. Last time.
He says, Ava needs me.
Exactly. Yeah. She needs a little sign of nature saying, "Hey, this is all good," So to balance my perceptions. Yeah, he's very cute. He comes. He actually came close to my window. He was almost in my apartment, and that was a pretty exciting moment. And I was like, "Oh my God, nature just has its own way of," and so that's the other side that I'm really aware of. More intense smells, more And also, also synchronicities. It's so funny. I mean, I think last time we talked about that a little bit already, about synchronicity. And I've been noticing, I think of a friend and say, I want to talk to that friend, and that friend's calls me.
Wonderful. I love that. I love that when that happens. It happens a lot, like with old clients, former clients I've had. All of a sudden they'll come on my mind like a lot. And I'll think, should I write to them? Because sure, I'm thinking about them a lot. And should I just send them a love note, just thinking of you and all of that or not, and then the next day will be a message from them, I've been thinking about you. I would like to just say hello or give you an update or something. And it's happened so often. And I feel that that deep relationships with people, even if you don't even know how deep they are, they have a rhythm with you. Nature keeps being reborn in spite of us so far, and it has rhythms and it has cycles, and so do our connections.
Yeah.
If we live in harmony with nature, otherwise it just seems so mysterious. Now, how did that happen that she was thinking of me when I was thinking of her? Of course it happens because we're connected.
Yeah.
But we're so disconnected that when it happens, it's like, oh my goodness, there was a synchronicity. Do you know what I mean?
Totally.
I think synchronicities are the norm, but our cultures are so broken that they don't have rhythm. They don't have the rhythm of life. They don't have the seasons or no time that's designated just to love and care,
Yeah. Yeah. I
That's
really love what you were just saying, because I do really feel the same. And I've been becoming so much more clear now these days that I'm not exercising my intense work schedule, but noticing that I feel very congruent that what I do is really about life and life cycles, and about being with life and honoring life and giving birth to what Virginia Satir calls the third birth, meaning that I can really become my own choice maker and be really responsible, which doesn't mean I'm having this one unit separate from the world kind of idea, but it's more me honoring the miracle that I am as embodied, and my life in connection with the greater and the bigger system, and honoring my own cycle, so to speak. And so I really felt, well, nobody signed up to my workshop this time, but I can still continue to transmit the deepest messages, which is all about the we space. How do we meet? Me being part of the conversation, but only one part of it, and then there's the other, and it's like a dance to me. Like I'm making one move and the other may answer and say, oh yeah, that seems like a nice rhythm, let's continue a nice dance together. And it doesn't have to be I'm just becoming so aware that it doesn't have to be a workshop setting in order to transmit the deepest therapeutic messages. It can happen in the everyday space. I was a lot of times disturbed when I was assisting or co-facilitating workshops, hearing people here is everything is good, meaning in the workshop I can be myself and I feel so great about myself, but then out there, as if this is another world, now I have to I can't be that, where I'm like, this is life. We're just creating a contextual frame where we maybe have some guidelines around what is helpful so that we can nurture certain aspects, but we're really exercising life, to me. And like, how can we really be our best personal and professional self, not just in a special context, but also bridge it to where we are right now?
Yes, absolutely. I mean, I think that this came up in that conference the other day, is like, it's not about being a great professional and learning all these skills and tricks and techniques.
Yeah.
Yes, you learn these things like a runner practices, lifting your legs high, kicking behind yourself, going as fast as you can for short sprints. And you run the race. You run the race. And you're just fully yourself, and you're fully being there, and you're flying like a bird. And the point is that, therapy is about being with.
Yes.
It's about being with a person. I mean, for me, everybody is like, oh, Milton Erickson was very manipulative and full of tricks and blah, blah, blah. That wasn't my experience. He
Wow.
knew a lot about the unconscious mind, but he sat with me. He sat with me for 7 hours. He sat with me, and he accepted fully who I was. No one had ever done that before. It's really, in the end, being present with someone, and don't take advantage of their vulnerability.
Yeah.
Honor it like a little nest that you find, like a little bug, lightning bugs that come here at night.
I mean, it really sounds like he really saw you. He was really completely being with you and saw you and receiving you, and then
absolutely. And it was about accepting, and about trusting, and about acknowledging, and then about giving messages that were messages delivered in the way I could receive them, and that would help me help myself.
It's like we're doing some cultural healing here too.
Yes, really, we really are. We both had this similar learnings from the other side of them, and we share some precious, so precious.
Yeah,
it's so precious to me. It always makes me cry.
So
and I feel like, I love Ava.
I totally love you, and thank you so much for being so open and receptive to me as being a German. It is one of the greatest gifts I really received, so thanks for that too.
And thank you for accepting me as a person of Jewish descent. Love you.
That's true.